Good morning, everybody. Sunday morning. We're in the storm. It's coming down. We still got probably about 8 to 10 hours to go. We're going to cover a few things here. As we talked about last night, we've had some dry air working in at the upper levels of the atmosphere. We want that to continue. Some of the models are hinting that it's even getting stronger. I'm not saying that we are out of the woods. Not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that could cut our totals in half, which would be good. That'll cut power outages in half. That'll cut the issues on the road in half. So let's just kind of see if we can get that trend to continue. Let's take a look at the radar here. See, our storm's pretty locked in, but the precip here is kind of more sporadic, right? Sorry, my network's a little bit slow here. The precip's a little more sporadic. It's a little more spotty. It's not completely filled in like the models were kind of initially projecting to be. The models were initially saying all this was going to be completely sacked full of precipitation. And we'll kind of go over what's happening here, which is a good thing. Right now, we've got, like I said, that the reason the precip is a little more spotty is because we've got dry air working in at the upper levels of the atmosphere. So let's just kind of see what's going on. We'll kind of peek in. You can see all this heavier stuff out here to the west. That still has still got to come through. That's definitely coming through as a line of thunderstorms later on this afternoon. Once that line of thunderstorms, which will be ice, works through, we're going to be done with it. Let's just kind of look at some of the things that are concerning. We're getting into some power outages here. Right now, we're looking at about just shy of 1 million people, in the United States being without power. The worst is down here in Texas, northern Louisiana, going into northern Mississippi and into central Tennessee. That area there has had the heavier precip for a longer period of time. So, and moisture's working southwest and northeast, west and east. So it's been precipitating there longer. That's coming this way. So we're still going to have some power outages. We're still going to have issues. Just the heavy bulk of it hasn't gotten here yet. Let's hope the dry air continues to kind of work its way in. So let's kind of zone in here and see the power outages. Kind of zoom in on certain areas here. There's not too many in this area here for North Carolina yet. Like I said, most of the ones are down here in Texas right now, Louisiana. Up here in Nashville, so Nashville pretty much, Nash County, 90% of that county and city's out of power. So 9 out of 10 people in Nashville right now are without power, and it could be a while. This county here, 80% of the people are without power. So that's kind of working its way this way. We've got some outages starting here in North Carolina. Once again, we said the precip was the ice was going to be heavier, which is in between Greenville and Nashville. We're already having some power outages kind of starting to show there. We've got about 6,000, 7,000 there in Rayburn, Georgia, and then up near the upstate South Carolina, Pickens, South Carolina, about 700. And we got about 5,000 in Transylvania County, North Carolina. So the power outages are starting to increase in this area here. Getting up kind of into the Piedmont. Iredell has 20, not too bad. Davies got 21 people. Forsyth has 45 people. So as we go through the afternoon and evening, these amounts are going to increase. Let's just hope that it's not too bad. I kind of zoned in on the one in Davie right now. It's still looking at about 21 people in Davie County. And it looks like it's kind of up in the northern part of the county, or northern part of Moxville, up off just north of 601. This is another kind of outage map, but it's got the radar attached to it. I like this radar because it kind of shows a little bit more. But you can see this little, so we're kind of over in this area here. See where the precip's spotty? We've had dry air work its way up. So instead of seeing a solid precipitation shield like this, it's been more spotty for us. That's a good thing. Let's hope that continues. We want that to continue. Let's take a look at some DOT cams here. This is I-40 Union Cross Road. Icy. Thankfully, there's not a lot of traffic out there. This is I-85 Mount Hope Church Road. It's pretty much snow and ice covered, so the roads are terrible right now. This is I-40 Gallimore Dairy Road. Precip's coming down a little harder there. I-40's covered, so don't get out there. I mean, this is the main interstate, and it's covered in ice and snow, so you can only imagine what the back roads are looking like. This is I-85 further south and west down in Rowan County. It's still covered, so you can kind of start seeing the ice is starting to build up on the trees a little bit. We've got some ice starting to build up on the trees out here in Denton, so it's something we're going to keep an eye on. We're going to hope that we keep the precip relatively light. Like I said, we got a band of heavy, possibly thunderstorms moving through later on. Once that's done, it's out. So, like I said, we've got about another 8 hours left of this. Once it moves out, we're done. But this is I-85, 52 down in the Salisbury area. You can see that the roads are completely covered. But look at this. The trees are starting to glaze over pretty good. The ice adds weight. The more weight starts bringing down the branches on the power lines. So, thankfully, it doesn't look like we're going to get over that 3/4 of an inch threshold where we start bringing down high transmission lines. Is that a possibility still? Yes. And it's still going to happen in certain areas. Let's just hope it's not widespread. That heavy line of storms coming through, just like in the summer, it can put down a lot of moisture really fast. So you can get an inch of ice just like that. So we got to watch out for that. The other problem we got to watch out for is the wind. The wind behind this front when it comes through is going to be gusty, so whatever ice is on the trees, the wind's going to just further, cause issues with that to bring the power lines down. This is taking a peek into Winston-Salem. This is 52 at Clemensville Road. Snow and ice cover. That's pretty much going to be what it's looking like everywhere across the Piedmont Triad area, likely to St. Easton. We can kind of see the yellow and red. That's because people are driving slow, understandably. Just don't get out if you don't have to. Let's take a peek at the model runs here. Kind of show you what's going on in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Once again, we want this dry air to continue. Let's see if the models are catching on to that. This one here is the national blend of models. Once again, this is the blend of all the models put together. Yesterday at this time, it was putting about 3/10 of an inch to a half inch ice for us. It's cut them totals in half. So let's hope that continues. But what we got to watch out for is this heavy line of precip coming through later on. So there's our dry air. Now look at this little dry slot right here. So as that punches through, we're going to get a heavier line of precip moving in from the west right there. So throughout between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock, we're going to have a line of storms coming through. Once that comes through, it's out of here by 8. So let's hope that continues. I wanted to kind of show you this. This is the cold air damming on the eastern side of the mountains. But these are low temperatures. Tuesday morning, 5 degrees. Some models are putting us at below zero, well below zero. This is an average of all of them. The average of all the models, it comes to 5 degrees. That is not the wind chill, that is the surface temperature. It is going to be brutally cold. Let's hope you don't lose power. That's when the problem. So, anything else right now, we're just kind of now casting. We're in the event, so this is our current run. So this is, I got this one pulled up because this shows lightning, where the model thinks lightning is going to be later on. What's interesting is as that line of storms come through, you see this blue area right here. This is where the model's saying, hey, we're going to have some lightning. And so here's Winston-Salem area, Davie County, Greensboro, Charlotte. You might hear some thunderstorm later on, but it's going to be ice. So let's take a look what this model is showing for the time frame of that heavier line of storms coming through. It's looking like, so right now we got the spotty, sporadic precip coming through right now. Then later on, still looking spotty right here. Heavy line of storms about 5 o'clock. And look at the upper level moisture here. So again, you see this right here, this tan looking area, that's dry air. All this in here is dry air in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So once again, dry air evaporates the moisture before it hits the ground, decreasing amounts. So we want this trend to absolutely continue. And then there comes that line of storms moving on out. Another look at the little bit shallower but still above the atmosphere, or a little bit lower in the atmosphere. And dry air working on in there too. This is North American model. This showed yesterday. It was showing right at just shy 3/4 of an inch to an inch of ice for us. As you can see now, it's picked up on that dry slot, but the moisture is more sporadic. We still have a line of storms coming through later on, but this is promising. This is another model where we are showing decreased amounts of freezing rain. So instead of a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, this is right about 1/4 of an inch. We can tolerate that. It's still a moderate winter storm, but more tolerable, not as extensive or catastrophic. So let's hope this continues. One other run here. With this being said, I kind of want to go on a side topic here. I've seen where local forecasters, not necessarily me, said, "Oh, you said we were getting 2 feet of snow." No, your weather app said you were getting 2 feet of snow today. I never said that. Most reputable meteorologists never said that. Or the Facebook page that you've seen, that somebody that doesn't understand weather, that has access to computer models, puts it on there and says, "Oh, we're getting 2 feet of snow." Folks, all winter, you're going to have model runs that show extensive snowfall amounts for the Southeast. Realistically, it's not going to happen, so you don't post it to get people excited about it. That's happening too much. And then like now, like forecasting is just kind of a best guess. You have the data, you look at it, you interpret it, and you put out a forecast. You hope for the best. All the models were showing a significant winter storm. We are getting a winter storm, but thankfully certain dynamics that you just can't tell until real time work in, like dry air or colder air or less moisture or more moisture. Things like that can make or break things. This was never going to be a significant snow event. Freezing rain, you can see it, but you just like it doesn't pile up like snow. So I think that you get the misconception that if you don't wake up and see everything covered in snow, that we're not getting a winter storm. That winter storm threshold is 1/4 of an inch of ice for our area within a 12-hour period. If you exceed that, you hit winter storm warning criteria. Same for snow. If the event was just going to be snow, if you get more than 3 inches of snow for this area, that exceeds winter storm warning threshold for this area. So you got to kind of plan for the worst. So yeah, the models are pointing out 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch or more. Could that still happen? Yes. Is it looking less likely now? Yes. I want that to continue. If I ever wanted to bust a forecast, this is the one. This is the one I hope that me and everybody else is wrong, because you get 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch of ice. You can make. I mean, I just can't even put it where how bad that would be, and how massive of an area it'd be. But it could be weeks without power. So let's be thankful that that's not taking place right now for our area. Some places are getting that. Some places have already gotten over 1/2 inch of ice. Places out west, and that precip still got to come through here. But thankfully, we don't have a 1/4 of an inch sitting on the trees already. That's what the models were picking up on yesterday. It remains sleet most of the time, so that's kind of what's helped us. But folks, guys out west, like you got Nashville, 90% of the people right now are without power and could be without power for weeks, because that is a massive area. There's only but so many people that can get up there and fix some power lines. And if you take that and expand it to all the other major population centers, it's going to take a long time to get power back if that happens. So if we're ever going to be wrong about something, this would be the one that we want to be wrong at. So let's pray for the linemen out there. Let's pray for their safety. Let's hope this trend continues, that we're not going to get this substantial ice storm. We do have some heavy stuff coming in still, but let's just hope that the sporadic, scattered nature of the precip that's falling now continues until later on. If we can get through today with just this spotty, scattered stuff, we'll be good. The secondary thing, a lot of times in mountains, when the storms, as everybody knows, when the storms come across the mountains, that usually breaks them apart a little bit more, makes them less intense. Let's hope that happens too. So we got a lot of things that are going to go on for us right now. We've already pretty much met that winter storm warning criteria where the National Weather Service issues it. Let's just hope that it doesn't continue to pile up and we continue to just, be more sporadic in nature. So this was the radar about an hour ago. We can see we are changing more from sleet to freezing rain as the day goes on. The orange is sleet, pink is freezing rain. This is kind of freezing in. It's heavier in spots, lighter in spots. So just occasionally you'll see a little heavier precip and then it'll back off. So it's kind of that's how it's going to be through the day until this afternoon. We have that heavy line come through. But once that line comes through, we're pretty much done with it. So this is the forecast for today. Still, sleet is changing to freezing rain. North Carolina, travel is going to be bad, and it's just kind of transitioning as we go now. But still, these winter storm warnings go all the way now from Maine down to New Mexico. We've got warnings all the way as far as from cold air from Montana down to the south. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Hopefully, the dry air continues to work its way in. We'll take another peek at what's happening later on. I'll try and do another video around 1 o'clock so we can kind of gauge what time that line of storms is coming through. But let's just kind of hope and pray that the sporadic nature of this precip stays that way and it's not going to be as heavy or as intense, and maybe we'll dodge a bullet here.